What are some things that I hate about this bike, the Triumph Trident 660? Nothing. There's nothing I hate about this bike. Boo! 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 Sorry. Okay. I maybe have some dislikes or some minor annoyances. Alright, so let's start with the first one. Looks wise, it's a beautiful bike. I love the look of the bike, but this thing right here, this little bracket, it doesn't match the rest of the bike. It would have been fine. You could have just painted it black, matte black, like the rest of the frame. Nice gray like the engine covers. You could have powder coated it a shiny black, something. It's kind of just a shiny metal, but the foot pegs themselves are satin. There are a lot of other satin finished metal pieces. So it's a little bit off. Now, if you look at some of the bolt heads, they are kind of a similar shiny metallic finish, so it kind of matches that, but it just seems a little off. It does look a bit worse than it does in some of the pictures, but if I had to change something just cosmetically, this is probably where I would start. The other thing I see some people doing to change cosmetically is the red on the radiator little covers, radiator trim pieces there. I don't mind that at all. I think the red is fine. It looks brighter in pictures, I will say that. It's really bright. In videos, probably looks a lot brighter on this video than it does in person, but in person it is a more muted fire engine red, Ducati, Ferrari red, and I don't mind it at all. I also don't mind that it seems to stick out just a little bit, but that's not too much for my taste either. It looks just fine for me. I'm going to live with it and be happy with it. I do like the bits of red on the tail and on the front tire or front wheel cover there. So that's all good. It's just, if I had to change something, it might be that. Will I powder coat it? It might look nice as maybe a matte powder coat finish. But that's all I can really think of as far as aesthetics. Everything else looks great. Pretty happy with it so far. A little bit, but the shift peg right there, if you see, it's kind of almost looks crooked compared to the foot peg, and it takes a little bit of a dip to get your foot underneath there and around. So I'm either gonna maybe adjust that up a little bit, but I'm not sure. I might try adjust it up and see if it still downshifts really well, because the way it is now, downshifts great. It's just kind of getting that your toe in the front of your foot to dip underneath so you can do upshifts. That's a little weird. That's probably one thing I'm still getting used to the most. Everything else has been really good. Throttle. Some people have complained about the throttle, and let's get on here. All right. All right. So if you're going to design a bike to make it as easy to use as possible, you don't want the throttle to be too sensitive. And so I would say the first 10, 15, maybe 20% of play in the throttle, it's very slow, or it's very easy. I'm not sure how to explain it. So if you're used to something that instantly, if you're used to something that instantly reacts, it's going to feel slow. It's going to feel like there's a delay, that there's something wrong with the electronic throttle. I think they're just trying to make that easy to use. So so it's off, and I'm gonna get on it. So you see there, it goes. it's fine, it reacts, it's just a little bit slow. And so sometimes really only notice it the worst or the most at right here. So you're gonna make a turn and you're trying to lightly add throttle into the turn, and it seems like you're turning it, and then it finally goes, almost like a turbo lag. So just a bit of a delay, just a bit of a lag there, but I think they're just trying to turn down the sensitivity of the throttle to make it easier to ride. So once you realize that that's probably a design feature, it's meant to be like that, you can overcome it. And there's been a couple times where I've been glad for it, where I had a little bit of a whiskey throttle situation, coming from a stoplight, taking a right turn, and hitting a pothole, and ended up kind of hitting the throttle more than I meant to. And on a more powerful bike or a more sensitive throttle, you know, I could have been into the next lane or worse, but instead it was a lot easier to recover from. So I think that's all just part of what they have going on. Yeah, and see right there, once you get used to it, once you know that's what's going to happen, it's not that big of a deal. If you're some of the motor journalists, and or you ride a lot of variety of bikes, or used to something more powerful, used to something a little bit higher spec, it's going to feel weird, but really it's not that bad. All right, so let's talk about the brakes. It's hard to, I can't say I like the brakes. I don't hate them. It's not a dislike. They are just very, very okay. I guess I don't know what I was expecting. And on other bikes, it's probably, it is different. It's probably like the throttle, where they're soft. It's got a soft throttle, and I think they also have soft brakes. They will slow you down perfectly fine. They just don't have a whole lot of initial bite, and I think you can remedy that with some better pads later on. But there's only one time where I even engaged the ABS. I had to do kind of a panic stop. I went up to a yellow light that was, I thought it was a fresh yellow. It turns out it was a very stale yellow, and it turned red sooner than I thought it would, and so I hit the brakes, and it stopped fine. I was able to stop in plenty of time, did not go over the line. It's just the feel. They feel really soft. Now, part of it is I have the adjustable levers, and I had them set down a little closer, and probably wasn't getting the best leverage. And so I bumped these up to 3. I could go to 4 or 5 and try that out. But now, update to the brakes. Last week I did a video and I was talking about how the brakes were just okay. It's not the brake's fault. It's these levers. It's the adjustable levers. Right now I've got it on setting 3. I've got an easy reach, but if I go up to 4, I get a much better bite and a lot more power, a lot more leverage from the levers. So if you put these on, these are the Tech Bike Parts. There's 2 Tech Bike Parts websites. There's the UK version, that's the original, and then there's the USA version. So I got mine from USA, so I wouldn't have to pay for the extra shipping and all that. But anyway, you got to be careful with those, because if you set them all the way down, you're not going to get much leverage, and the brakes are going to feel soft. So that's what it was. I was thinking I needed some better, some more bite, some better pads, but it was really just the leverage. Same thing goes for the clutch lever. If you have it on 1 or 2 or even 3, and you don't have the clutch cable adjusted properly, you're going to have trouble getting it into neutral. You might even have a little bit of trouble shifting. So So be careful with that. If you put any these especially, or I imagine same situation would happen if you had any kind of adjustable lever. You know, if you're getting a closer reach, you might be getting less leverage. So just be careful with that. So I'm gonna go down here to one of the roughest spots, roughest road that I know of, and just go ahead. I'm gonna hit all these bumps. All right, now when the bike was brand new, that would have been a little rougher, and I'm gonna hit a worse section up here in a second, but you will still feel big bumps. You will still feel actually like that. Here's another one. All right, so you can kind of get an idea there. Just trying to use my voice, and you can feel there's some stuttering and some shaking as I go over those. So it's not a dislike, it's not a hate, it's just something I'm getting used to, and something that is getting better as I put more miles on the bike. The seat breaks in and the suspension softens up a little bit. I think that's just the price you pay for getting a non-adjustable, budget-friendly suspension, but it fits in with everything else in the bike. The bike's very balanced as far as its strengths and weaknesses. So, you know, to get that low price point, you're getting some. You got to make some sacrifices on the suspension. So it's not that it's bad. It's just that it's designed to a price. Alright, so I'm going to turn on the left up here where it gets pretty rough and show you again. I went down this road one time, wasn't paying attention, and the bumps got bad enough where it affected my steering a little bit. Like I felt like I kind of jumped from one side of the road to the other. What wasn't enough to lose control or anything like that. It just kind of startled me. I think I hit it up here. And actually that wasn't so bad, really. Here's a couple of spots right there. Yeah, there it goes. So yeah, if you're not paying attention, you'll notice it. You'll be like, whoa, where those bumps come from, and it might startle you a little bit because it's rough, and you're gonna feel those. You're not just gonna glide over all the ruts and bumps or anything like that. There's a couple more, but it does get better. So if you're hopping on the bike and it's brand new, you just got it, and you're taking it home for the first time, and by the time you get home you're sore and you're like, oh, I've made a horrible mistake, what have I done? Don't worry, after a couple hundred miles it will soften up a little bit, and plus you'll just get used to it. Alright, so then it's a good example with the throttle. I think it's just making turns for me where maybe I'm being a little extra careful with my throttle input, trying to make sure I'm staying in the lane and having a good controlled turn, and so you're probably going a little easier on the throttle. That's when that we'll just call it a mild throttle comes into play. Some people call it a delay, but I think it's just mild. It's just meant to be user and beginner friendly. And so if you know that's coming, or you know that's the case, we'll go up here. If you just give it a little extra throttle, or you're just ready for it and can adjust accordingly, then you're good. Now I guess somebody could make a counterpoint and say that, here we go. So I'm just going to give it a little more than usual. And there it goes. So still in control, still fine. It's okay if you just know what you're doing and you know that's how it's gonna work. Got away from a Harley, that doesn't happen all the time. Anyway,
So those are the two things there. The suspension gets better, and you get used to it, and you know to pay better attention. It's not going to be a big road bike where it's just going to absorb all the bumps and glide over it. You're going to feel it, but that also means you get a very sporty ride, where you are going to be able to feel the road surfaces and feel the traction that you're getting, and be able to dial in your ride a little bit better with that way. Go here. So it's just that first 10, 15, 20%. You get above that, and it is super responsive. It is. So everyone, thank you for watching. This was really, like I said at the beginning, nothing that I hate about the bike. There's a few dislikes, a few annoyances, and just a few things that I have to adjust to as a rider. You can do some things to make the bike more comfortable. There's adjustable foot pegs, the adjustable brake and clutch levers. Those are really good at making the bike fit you, but sometimes you have to do the adjusting to fit the bike, and so that's really what I'm doing as far as annoyances go. You just get used to the throttle response and just getting used to moving my foot, kind of dipping that toe down and under the peg a little bit. It's a more sporty ergonomics, and that's why I would say I'm probably the one that needs to do the adjusting, not the other way around. So that's about it for now. Thanks for watching.